Welcome back to the program once again. This is the campaign edition of Choice 2017. On a day, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his Jubilee brigade are busy at the north. At this moment, the president is addressing his supporters in Mandera County. We're going to get those pictures any moment from now. And after Mandera is going to cross over to the neighboring county of Wajir. And NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga is also at the coast. His tour just comes a few days after that of President Uhuru Kenyatta. He is now in Lamu County. He is expected, or rather he is addressing his supporters there. Our coast reporter Francis Ontomwa will come to us any moment from now and give us an update from that rally. Now, let me just come back to you, Kisija, once again, before we cross over to the northern Kenya politics, because it's very interesting with the emergence of new political parties. Let's just conclude on the Nairobi politics, and let's just be fair to the other candidates again. Now, they're the likes of Miguna, somebody who has been, trending on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and there are those who are saying that he might as well get there might be a possibility of him clinching the seat. Let me just start with you. React to that.
Of course, we cannot write off. This is a contest. Yes. It's an electoral contest, and we can never write off anybody, which we've kept on saying we can't write off anybody. But the issue is the muscle, the political muscle and the financial muscles that come with this kind of a contest. Now, Miguna is a very intelligent fellow, being a lawyer and having listened to him and associated with him in so many other fields before. He's a very intelligent person. And he has also been exposed in terms of working in government. And number two, he's coming on and campaigning and doing very well in terms of the debates that is and what his manifesto stands for and all that.
And his motto for draining the swamp.
Exactly, and he's doing very well there. And I also saw him the other day in terms of door-to-door campaign, going to every door and passing them manifesto. Now, what I liked about him is that he's passing his principles and manifestos to people and telling them, read this, this is what I stand for and this is what I push for. Yeah. And like other candidates probably will pass other things that might not be what it is. But that is his strategy in terms of campaigning. Now, I wouldn't put so much emphasis on and then he's also coming to when you compare Miguna, compare Sonko and compare Kidero, he's coming in at a lower level because this is the first time he's trying public office in terms of politics. Compared to Sonko has been an MP for quite some time and Kidero is the sitting governor. So he comes in struggling to come up, to actually be above the rest in terms of being known. And politics is about the brand and being known. But when you listen to him and listen to what his agenda is and what he's pushing for, he comes out very strong person. Now, the opinion poll, I was looking at it yesterday, that came out in Infostruck. I'm not saying that this is the authenticity or this is the authority to quote everywhere, but it's an indication. And it's placing him at 1% in terms of popularity vote in Nairobi. But we still have about how many days to go? About
16 days.
16 days to go.
Things might change.
Things might change. You can just stand.
You really think things might change?
Yes, you can.
John.
No, I think Miguna has won in the debates. So it's only fair for him to allow the others win the poll. I think he has no chance. Absolutely, he has no chance. Just like Peter Kenneth. The race is only between Kidero and Sonko, period. And there will be no chance. In the 16 days that we have, I think he's a good lawyer. He's a good person in this in the whole of this race for comic relief. It's good for him to be there for us to also see. The other time, he really gave us a show in the debate when he was calling them by their names and calling it as it is. So I think that is the only thing we can talk about him, and he will be remembered for that in this race. Otherwise, I don't want to look like I'm very mean, but for sure, politically speaking, Miguna, that is it.
And but also, you haven't been very nice as well.
One of the things we have to understand ourselves as Kenyans is what are we looking for in a leader? What are we voting for? Are we voting for a popularity contest, or are we voting for someone we believe in? That this is a person who can deliver, he has integrity, this is a person, what principles does he bring on board? But now, the unfortunate thing about Kenyan politics is we vote sometimes for euphoria, and we have to speak about this. But when you look at the principles that Miguna stands for, these are the things that I would want to associate myself with if I was to vote in Nairobi. But unfortunately, that's not the nature of politics.
It is difficult to teach Nairobians those principles within 16 days. So I'm just trying to be a realist, maybe.
Okay, let's close the chapter on Nairobi politics for now.
Yeah.
And let's cross over to northern Kenya. And later on, of course, we're going to talk about politics at the coast. And today, President Uhuru Kenyatta is addressing his supporters in Mandera County. It is expected in Wajir today before touring Marsabit, which is the largest county in the country, as well as Isiolo. If my director could allow me, let's just play some clip here we had for you from Wajir as far as the Jubilee rally is concerned. They were there, of course. The Jubilee Brigade were in Wajir a while back early this month. Let's listen into what the head of state had to say there.
Nyinyi ndio mtachagua wale ambao mnataka, sisi tutafanya kazi na wale watachaguliwa na wananchi wa Wajir. Safari hii ODM muifungie vilago vyao waende nyumbani. Na nataka niwahakikishie ya kwamba generator mpya italetwa hapa Wajir ndio tusuluhishe hiyo shida ya power cuts katika mji huu, na ndio watu waweze kuwa na stima ya kufanya biashara zao. Tutatumia within 6 months 53 million shillings ambayo italipwa hawa vijana. Na wakati hawa vijana wanafanya hiyo kazi, wale wakina mama ambao watakuwa wanapikia hawa watalipwa milioni 5 kwa hiyo kazi ya kupikia vijana wale ambao wanafanya hiyo kazi.
From Wajir, that is from Jubilee's earlier campaign this month in Wajir County. We do expect some footage there from Mandera County, because that is where the president is this moment addressing his supporters. Mandera is one of the most interesting counties in northern Kenya, because there are 2 candidates who are eyeing for the governor's position. One is from the Jubilee Party and the other is from the Economic Frontier Alliance Party. And that will be a very interesting contest, because one of the parties is affiliated to Jubilee. Let me just come back to John once again. You've seen the emergence of these political parties from northern Kenya.
Yeah.
These new political parties. There's the EFP, and then there's the Frontier Alliance Party in Marsabit, and they have very strong candidates.
It's true. They have strong candidates, and they are coming as vehicles which are going to carry the aspirations of the people of that area. If you look at Mandera, for example, last time, they went purely TNA, they were Jubilee, and they voted 93% actually in Mandera voted for Uhuru Kenyatta, with a very high turnout there of 84%. And and they also gave almost all the other positions were also given to Jubilee. And for that reason, they have come to see that they are able to reason together and be united, especially in Mandera, because that's, I think, is where the whole vote went one way. Raila only got 5% from that area. So I think they came now to realize that if they came up with a political party which they can put their aspirations together as a community, then they will have a better gain in government, or with the government of the day. And that is basically what they have done. Yeah. But even after doing that, Uhuru has not killed his momentum in that area. So he still has a Jubilee candidate who is now going to face it off with the Economic Frontier Party candidate. And as as we have rightly seen, the 2 candidates are strong candidates. I mean, both of them are coming out very strongly. In that area, again, because it is a stronghold for Jubilee, Mandera in particular, you will see, again, Uhuru encouraging them then to pick whoever it is that they want to pick. Because at this point, especially when they formed another political party, there was a bit of worry. Where is this political party then going to take its support? And when it brought the support back to Uhuru, and actually you remember he also went for the endorsement during the time when he was doing his endorsement of Jubilee Party. So he will be okay with whoever then wins, especially the gubernatorial position. But he must also be very careful with who wins now at the parliamentary level and senatorial level. Because it's going to be a problem if he brings so many people in Nairobi to the parliament who do not belong to Jubilee Party. Because that would then mean, as I said, NASA is campaigning for their party candidates. Jubilee seems to be more liberal. Now, whichever political party then will bring more people to Nairobi, to the parliament, it will get the position for the majority leader in parliament. So this is something that Jubilee must be very, very careful about. so that they also have many candidates who come to parliament. Then they will have the majority leader. And I know NASA is also looking at the same. So those are some of the different goals that the two political divides or coalitions in Kenya are actually looking at.
Kissinger, this is one of the swing zones. It has been referred as a battle zone for both NASA and Jubilee. But as John has already indicated, Mandela voted for Jubilee about 95%. But since then, we've had the war on terror. We have issues to do with extrajudicial killings. Do you think this might go ahead and antagonize the people on the ground and make them vote the other way?
Actually, that's a Jubilee zone. We must admit it. In any event, it's going to be the NASA that is going to struggle to break in. And what President Uhuru and his brigade are doing is just to consolidate that vote. Now, the issues that you raise are critical. Yes, they are critical, but I think the Jubilee government, you must also give credit to the Jubilee government. The things that has been able to be done well and not been done well. Now, the issue of the various terrorism that has taken place and affected the area is not a Jubilee problem. Neither is it a Kenyan problem. It's a global phenomenon. It's a problem that is affecting the whole globe. We are fighting terrorism everywhere. We see it happening everywhere right now. So I do not think that that alone might really work so much against the Jubilee vote. In any event, the Jubilee government has been able to put mechanisms in place to deal with these rising cases of terrorism. And as I said, it's a global challenge. So it's very unlikely that that will be the scorecard for any voter in that region. What I see more is when you see President Uhuru there, I see him fighting what my colleague was talking about. Let me have as many numbers in parliament as possible. However, for me as a presidential candidate, I don't care if the two strong candidates are affiliated to my party. All I care is give me your vote, because it will count towards me as a presidential candidate. So those are the dynamics that we are seeing. But the biggest nightmare will be actually consolidating the majority.
Your view on the new political parties coming up in northern Kenya? Do you think it's going to give them a bargaining power?
It's a healthy thing. Democracy demands that. It's a healthy thing. But when you see them coming up right now, what's happening in that region, they are looking for future and carrying along people with them for future. As we said, politicians think ahead. In terms of democracy, is a good democratic thing. Let them participate in whatever they want to participate, and that's just how the nature of politics is.
There's a very interesting observation in northern Kenya once again. Now there's the Economic Alliance Party that is in Mandera County. It's affiliated to Jubilee. And then the only challenger for the governor's position is a candidate from Jubilee. If you look at Marsabit, there's the Frontier Alliance Party. It's also affiliated to Jubilee. And the only other candidate is from Jubilee. Does it mean that, northern Kenya, which has been regarded as a battle zone, is now red or in support of Jubilee?
It's moving towards that direction. Last time, Wajir and Marsabit were half-half. Actually, Wajir was more ODM. Then you had Marsabit, for example. The president had 47% and Raila had 49%. But if you look at the way the Jubilee government has embraced people from the northern Kenya, they seem to be more at home with the Jubilee government. They seem to be very comfortable there. Actually, if you look at the senior people in government, in the Jubilee government, who have come from those areas, like Amina Mohammed and Adan Mohammed again. You see that the president actually took very key members in his government from the northern side of Kenya. And they seem to be at home and accommodated very well. This is unlike when they had made a lot of noise during Kibaki's tenure. And the person actually who started by a very key inclusion of the northern people in government actually was Kibaki, by giving most of the key positions to people from northern Kenya. And that has happened in this government. It seems to be taking root. And for that reason, then, you see the northern people trying to look at things from, the same perspective. And when Duale speaks, you see, even though he's also a bit antagonistic because of the way he also antagonizes other people on the ground, but when he speaks now, you see actually he's speaking for the people from the northern side. They may have had issues. I don't think it has been smooth all the way. There's a time, I think someone like Bill Okero was up in arms especially the first time there was an issue of shallow graves which had been discovered, only to find that there were actually no people buried there. And you remember that time they were up in arms. And of course, the issue of terrorism has been there. It has targeted especially the governor very, very, very much. And he has had to wither a lot of many attempts, I think quite a number of attempts. But if you look at the common people, the people who have suffered of terrorism in that area really are not the locals. They're the people who come from inland, I mean from
the neighboring country, that is
actually from Nyeri. A lot of people from Nyeri who've been working in the quarries in Mandera, for example, are the ones who have suffered more, not people from that area. So again, that direct suffering of terrorism is not so much felt by the locals. It's felt more by the outsiders and people who work, the civil servants who work there. So there is general acceptance of the Jubilee government in the northern Kenya as we speak now, unlike the way it was even in 2013.
Yeah, and just to add on that, you realize that the historical injustice that part of the country has been crying for a very long time. Some of the issues, marginalization, lack of roads, lack of electricity, lack of clean water, not being involved or to participate in government affairs. All this within the last 15 years have been actually covered. Honorable Mike Kibaki did very well in terms of doing that. Uhuru Kenyatta has actually done that.
Actually, one of the campaign's agenda for the opposition is that they're calling for the implementation of TGRC, and much of the content there is about Northern Kenya. Of course, we're going to discuss more on that, but let's look at some clip here from Mandera County as far as today's rally is concerned. And right after that, we're going to listen in to CI Senator James Orengo, who had a press briefing earlier on in Kisumu.
We are so confident in the sense that even if internally somebody will try to interfere with the election structures and equipment and also devices within the IEBC, we will be able to detect such interferences well in advance. We shall not wait until the results of the elections are announced. And therefore, IEBC and the national government should stand, aware. They should stand aware that even internally within IEBC itself, we have the capacity to determine when their systems are being manipulated. Finally, we have a tallying system that is going to work so efficiently and in real time as the results are announced at polling stations. And therefore, there will be no room for manipulation. And this is being done in accordance with a new electoral system that enables the transmission of results to be done in real time and transmitted not only to the National Tallying Center and the Constituency Tallying Center, but also to a public portal to which the public will have an access. And of course, our systems will work in our reckoning even more efficiently than the systems the IEBC has put in place.
Senator James Orengo there speaking to members of the press from Kisumu, and he has been talking about, NASA having their own tallying system, that they're going to make sure, that the results are going to trickle in freely and give no room for manipulation whatsoever. Of course, that statement comes at the backdrop of, NASA leaders talking about the possibility of the elections going to be rigged.
This is dangerous, I dare say. When you say that you're going to have your own tallying center, which has better capacity than the independent commission's tallying center, what are you telling us? It's just this week that we have
He talked about a tallying system. I don't know if those two are the same.
No, it is clear. There's a tallying center that is in Arusha. That is in Dar es Salaam. That one has already been made, and it is there. It's a common knowledge. You have even seen it carried in your newspaper today. There is a tallying center. So when he's saying this, he's talking about something which is existing for sure. And Raila Odinga hired a firm to do a poll in Kenya this week, and it declared him ahead against all the other polls that are being done. What and how then do we expect that they have a tallying center in NASA which will declare Raila a loser? How can that happen? It is not possible. And when again you do this in a foreign country, what are you telling us as Kenyans? Are you now mortgaging Kenyan sovereignty? Are you saying you want to do it the way it was done by Aldama Barrow in Senegal, again, instead of doing election in Gambia? I mean, you had a tallying center in a different country. The president, a second president was declared president and sworn in a different country. Is that what you want us to do in Kenya? How much does it guarantee peace and stability in this country? Now, take this.
Let's also briefly, and then we give Kissinger also time before we take a break.
I think
let him finish, and then we'll come to you.
Yeah. I'm asking. We had a case recently about declaring the votes which are tallied at the constituency level to be final. What was the main argument of ODM and NASA in that case? The main argument was that how can IEBC not trust its officers on the ground? And the court upheld that argument by NASA, that and also by, I think, Kiai, who is a person who had taken that, Maina Kiai, who is a person who had taken that case in the first instance, and NASA joined in as an interested party. Now, the argument was that what IBC has done must be trusted by both parties if you have to have peace in Kenya. And the court upheld that. And as Kenyans, we accepted, indeed, IBC is an independent body, and whatever result then they announce at whatever level should be upheld. How then do you want to say that the same IBC, which you argue to be independent and to be clean and having integrity and being sharp and able to handle the election, again you say we now do not want to work, we don't want to trust that particular system, that one can be rigged, it can be interfered with, we have our own. How then would you be the referee and the player in the same game?
Kissinger, those who will argue and say that NASA just trying to be careful.
Yes, I think let's try to conceptualize this thing properly and understand where they're coming from. Because there has to be such a kind of a statement is based on past historical experiences and historical injustice, if one would want to put it that way. The issue of secrecy of the ballot, the issues of transparency, the issues of accountability, the issues of announcing the person who actually wins. All this is the responsibility of only one institution, the IEBC. Under the law, they have the mandate to do so. Now, based on the past experiences, and I will understand where Honorable James Orengo is coming from, and I'll understand where everybody is coming from. And mark you, it might not only be the NASA who is doing this. Could be also other political parties are doing it. The media houses, I'm very sure every media house will want to do the same thing. Now, so it's normal, and one understands where they're coming from. But what am I saying? What I'm saying...
So are you saying that tallying centers is not something wrong because media houses also going to have one?
There's nothing wrong completely in the law with also verifying what is happening on the ground. This is an independent thing, and nobody stops you from doing it. There's no law that prohibits NASA from not doing it. There's no law that prohibits Jubilee from not doing it. There's no law that prohibits me as Kakai Kissinger to do it if I want to do it. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong in law with media houses. If KTN wants to do it, if Citizen wants to do it, there's nothing wrong with that. What is the challenge we're going to have is if everybody does the independent tallying and everybody announces their own results, which are completely not reflecting what IEBC is announcing. Now, the law has come out very clearly and clarified how it's supposed to be done, from the polling stations to the constituency tallying centers, from the constituency tallying centers to the county tallying centers, at the county tallying centers to the national tallying centers. The law is very clear how the results are supposed to be announced. But my caution is only one. Please, carry out your independent tallying. It's okay, it's allowed, because you are talking about transparency. But let the IEBC have the mandate to officially announce the results.
I think you've delivered your case. It's home and dry. And there are those who are saying maybe the decision by the opposition there is informed by the fact that they haven't been seeing, eye to eye with the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Actually, they've faced off at the court, is it 3 or 4 times now? Anyway, we'll continue with this discussion right here on KTN's campaign edition of Choice 2017. We'll again take a very short break. We'll be right back. Don't go to it.